This is the 6th lesson of Unreal Engine 5 C++ for complete beginners. In this video, we're going to create our very first variables in C++. Before we do that, we need to understand the structure used to declare variables. We will then learn how to initialize them. And later in the lesson, we will look at the keywords used for different data types. Let's get started. To declare a variable, we generally follow a simple structure. Let's look at that structure first. The very first thing we write is the data type keyword. We already learned about data types in the previous lesson. After the data type keyword, we give the variable a name. And finally, we add a semicolon. That's it. That is the basic structure used to declare a variable. Now there is one important thing I would like you to remember. Every statement in C++ must end with a semicolon. You can think of a semicolon as a full stop in English grammar. When the compiler sees a semicolon, it knows the instruction ends here, and the next instruction can begin. Now you might be wondering, what exactly is a data type keyword? Well, a data type keyword is simply the short name of a data type. For example, the keyword for integer is int. The keyword for boolean is bool. And the same idea applies to all the other data types. Don't worry about remembering all of them right now. We will look at them later in this lesson. Now let's talk about initialization. Declaring a variable and initializing a variable are two different things. Declaring a variable tells the computer that the variable exists. Initializing a variable tells the computer what value it should start with. The structure is simple. First, write the variable name. Then, an equal sign. And finally, the value you want to store. Just like before, don't forget the semicolon. You can also declare and initialize a variable in a single statement. We start with the data type keyword, then the variable name, then an equal sign, then the initial value, and finally, a semicolon to end the statement. Now let's see this with a practical example. I am in Visual Studio, and this is the same class that we created in the previous lesson. Earlier, I mentioned something important. Whenever we create variables, functions, or anything else inside a class, we first declare them in the header file. And that's exactly where I am right now. I am inside the header file of this class. Now the question is, where should we write our new code? Well, you can start writing new code after a previous statement has ended. Let me show you what I mean. I am going to the very bottom. Notice this semicolon here. This semicolon tells us that the statement ends at this point. So now, we are free to write new code below it. Let's use an example from the previous lesson. Suppose our player can collect coins. How should we store the number of collected coins? Well, coins are counted as whole numbers. You can't collect 10.5 coins or 20.7 coins. So an integer is a perfect choice for this. Now let's follow the structure that we learned earlier. First, we write the keyword. For an integer, the keyword is int. Next, we give the variable a meaningful name. I will call it collected coins. And finally, a semicolon to end the statement. And that's it. You have just declared your very first variable in C++. Before using this variable, we should initialize it. One option is to initialize it right here. We simply add an equal sign and set the initial value to 0. Now let's create another variable. Suppose we want to know whether the player is alive. After this statement ends, we can start writing a new one. Just like before, we start with the data type keyword. In this case, it will be bool. Next, we give the variable a meaningful name. I will call it isAlive. And then a semicolon to end the statement. Or, we can initialize it immediately and set its value to true. Now there is one small thing. I would like to mention, when naming Boolean variables, it is common to start with a small b, and then write the actual variable name. This is simply a naming convention. Your code will still work, even if you don't follow it. However, this is how most professional developers write code. Throughout this course, we will use Pascal case naming conventions. Don't worry too much about naming conventions right now. We will cover them properly later in the course. For now, just follow along. Here is a list of common data type keywords. I recommend pausing the video or taking a screenshot. You don't need to memorize everything right away, but try to become familiar with these keywords. You will be using them a lot throughout this course. And that's it for this lesson. In the next video, we will learn about constructors in C++ and see how they're used inside Unreal Engine classes. See you in the next one.